The station above Calyx moved like a careful thought. Long rings of silver metal rotated around a glowing core, keeping gravity steady for the hundreds of species allowed inside. This was not a place for mistakes. Every step, every word, every breath was controlled by rules written after centuries of war. Lieutenant Aaron Hale did not belong here. He knew that as he hurried down Corridor 9, his boots tapping too loudly against the polished floor. He was logistics, nothing more. His job was to count supply crates, sign transport forms, and make sure humans did not embarrass themselves in front of alien governments. He had no reason to be near the diplomatic wing, and he knew it. But a delayed cargo shipment and a broken guidance drone had pushed his schedule into chaos. Aaron checked the wrist display glowing faintly on his arm. He was late. Again. "Just get this done," he muttered to himself, adjusting the data pad under his arm. "Drop the forms, apologize, leave." The corridor lights dimmed slightly as he moved deeper into the station. Here the air felt different, thicker, charged. The walls were smooth and curved, etched with symbols that changed color as people passed. Aaron tried not to stare. Staring was rude. On Calyx Station, staring could start a war. Ahead of him, two non-human diplomats floated slowly, their bodies wrapped in flowing membranes. They spoke without sound, exchanging pulses of light. Aaron slowed, waiting for space to pass. Then the station shuddered. It was small, barely more than a tremor, but the gravity field flickered. Aaron felt his stomach lift as his boots lost traction. His balance broke. He stepped forward instinctively, reaching out to steady himself, and collided with someone solid. The impact was gentle, almost slow, but the effect was immediate. The corridor went silent. Aaron froze. Before him stood a tall figure draped in dark, layered fabric that shimmered like oil on water. The being's posture was perfectly still, too still, as if movement itself was a choice rather than a habit. Around her, guards appeared as if from nowhere, sleek armored shapes with eyes glowing faintly blue. Aaron's heart slammed into his ribs. He knew who this was. Everyone did. The Velari Queen, ruler of the Velari conquered, psychic sovereign of the most feared species in known space. A being said to command minds the way humans commanded machines. Aaron dropped his data pad. It clattered loudly on the floor. I'm sorry," he said quickly, his voice shaking. "I didn't mean there was a gravity shift. The guards did not move toward him. That was worse. The Queen turned her head slightly. Her face was pale and smooth, almost human in shape but wrong in subtle ways. Her eyes were entirely black, reflecting the corridor lights like polished stone. Aaron could not look away. He felt pressure in his chest, like the air itself was pushing inward. He had heard stories. Velari did not need words. Their thoughts reached directly into other minds. Most species could not resist. Many did not survive prolonged contact. He waited for the invasion. Instead, he heard a whisper, not in his ears, inside his head. "So loud," the voice said softly. Aaron gasped. His knees almost buckled. The words were clear, gentle, and familiar in a way that made no sense at all. The pressure vanished. The corridor remained silent, but Aaron could feel eyes on him, human and alien alike. Guards, diplomats, observers who knew something impossible had just happened. The Queen leaned closer. Her presence filled his awareness not as force but as attention, like standing beneath a vast night sky and realizing the stars were looking back. "Your mind," the whisper continued, slower now. "It answers." Aaron swallowed hard. His heart was racing so fast it hurt. I don't understand," he said aloud, unsure if she could even hear spoken words. For the first time, the Queen moved fully. She straightened, her robes settling around her like living shadow. The guards shifted, uneasy. She raised one slender hand. "Take him," she said, her voice now audible, calm and resonant. "Gently." Aaron's breath caught. This was it. Detention, interrogation, execution. He had touched her. Even by accident, that was enough. The guards approached, but their movements were careful, almost respectful. One of them gestured for Aaron to follow. "I'm really sorry," Aaron said again, his words tumbling out. "I didn't know." The Queen looked at him once more. Her eyes held something he did not expect. Curiosity. As Aaron was led away, the corridor slowly came back to life. Conversations resumed in hushed tones. Messages were sent at light speed to distant worlds. A single human logistics officer had just done something no one thought possible. He had been heard. The path to the inner chambers was quiet and heavily shielded. Aaron noticed the walls were thicker here, layered with materials he did not recognize. His skin prickled as if static clung to the air. The guards did not speak. They did not touch him either. They simply guided him forward, watching closely. Aaron tried to calm his breathing. Panic would not help. He focused on details instead. The soft hum beneath the floor, the faint glow of energy lines running through the walls, the way the air seemed warmer the deeper they went. Finally, they stopped before a tall doorway that opened without sound. Inside was a wide chamber filled with dim light. The ceiling arched high above, painted with moving patterns that resembled stars drifting through water. The floor was smooth and warm beneath his boots. The queen stood at the center. The guards remained outside, the doors closed. Aaron was alone with her. She turned slowly, studying him as if he were a puzzle she had waited centuries to find. Up close, her presence was overwhelming, not because of fear, but because of weight. History, power, age. "You are afraid," she said. "Yes," Aaron answered honestly. "Good," she replied. "Fear sharpens truth." He did not know what to say to that. She began to circle him, her steps silent. Aaron stood still, hands at his sides, every muscle tense. "Humans are known to us," she said. "You build quickly, you adapt, you survive. But your minds are quiet to our touch." She stopped in front of him. "Until you," Aaron frowned. "I didn't do anything." Her lips curved slightly, not a smile exactly, but close. "Exactly," she said. Without warning, the pressure returned, but this time it was different, softer. Careful, he felt her presence brush against his thoughts, not forcing, not taking. Asking. Memories flickered, his childhood on Earth, the smell of rain on hot pavement, his first day in uniform, the fear and pride mixed together. He felt exposed, yet not violated. Like showing someone an open book by choice, the queen inhaled sharply. "So much noise," she whispered, "so much self." Aaron's head throbbed. "Please," he said. "If I did something wrong, you did something impossible," she corrected. She stepped back, her expression unreadable. "For thousands of cycles, we believed minds existed to be joined or ruled," she said. "That resistance was weakness, that silence was emptiness." Her gaze sharpened. "You are not silent, you are unbound." Aaron's pulse slowed, confusion replacing fear. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said quietly, "that when I spoke, your mind did not yield, it responded." She looked toward the ceiling, the shifting stars reflecting in her dark eyes. "A resonance," she continued. "One our seers spoke of in myth, a species whose thoughts could not be commanded, only met." She looked back at him. "And now the galaxy will notice." Aaron felt a chill run through him. "That sounds bad." Her lips curved again, just slightly. "It is," she said. "And it is extraordinary." Outside the chamber, alarms did not sound, but messages raced across secure channels. Observers watched energy readings spike and stabilize in ways never recorded before. Inside, a human stood before a queen who ruled minds. And for the first time in Velari history, she wondered whether power had finally met its equal. Aaron took a slow breath, unaware that a single accident had already changed humanity's place among the stars, and that this was only the beginning. The chamber did not feel like a prison, but Aaron knew that meant nothing. Power did not always use walls and chains. Sometimes it used silence. After the queen's last words, neither of them spoke for a long moment. The air felt steady, but his thoughts were not. His mind kept replaying her whisper, the way it had sounded close and distant at the same time, as if it had always been there and he had only just noticed it. Finally, the queen turned away from him and walked toward the far side of the chamber. As she moved, the light shifted, following her like a living thing. She raised one hand and the stars painted on the ceiling slowed their motion. "You will remain here," she said calmly, "not as a prisoner." Aaron hesitated. "Then as what?" She looked back over her shoulder. "As a question." That answer did not help him relax. A soft sound came from the wall and part of it opened into a smaller room. Inside was a simple chair, a table, and a glass surface that glowed faintly. "You may sit," the queen said, "or stand, your choice." Aaron chose to sit. His legs still felt weak. As he settled into the chair, the glass surface brightened and formed shifting symbols. He recognized none of them. "You are being observed," she said, not unkindly. "By minds far greater than yours, and by some far smaller." "That's comforting," Aaron said dryly, then winced. He had not meant to sound sarcastic. To his surprise, the queen tilted her head. "Humor," she said. "Another form of noise." She stepped closer again, stopping a careful distance away. "Tell me, Aaron Hale of Earth. When you think, do you ever experience silence?" He frowned. "I don't think so. There's always something. Thoughts, memories, worries, songs stuck in my head." Always moving, she murmured. She closed her eyes. This time, when her presence touched his mind, it was lighter than before. It did not press or push. It simply hovered like a hand near a flame, careful not to burn. Aaron felt it clearly now, the difference between invasion and invitation. "You may refuse," her voice said inside him. "You may push me away." "I don't know how," he answered silently. "That is also an answer." She withdrew slightly enough that he could breathe easier. "For most species," she explained aloud, "thought is a shared space. Individuality exists, but it is thin. We speak mind to mind as easily as you speak with sound." She looked at him steadily. "When we reach toward humans, there is nothing to grasp, no shared field, no open path." "But you reached me," Aaron said. "Yes," she replied. "And you did not open, you reflected." That word stayed with him, reflected. A faint vibration passed through the floor. Aaron felt it through his boots. "What's happening?" he asked. "The station council has been informed," the Queen said. "They are unsettled." That was an understatement. Not far away, in a chamber filled with layered screens and floating light, representatives from 12 species argued without pause. Human diplomats stood rigid at the edge, trying to follow conversations that moved faster than sound. "The Velari do not make mistakes," said a tall avian delegate, feathers flaring. "If their queen reacted, there is cause." A scaled representative hissed softly. "Or manipulation. Humans are known for deception." The human ambassador, a gray-haired woman named Director Chen, kept her voice calm. "With respect, Lieutenant Hale is a supply officer. If this is a deception, it is the least efficient one imaginable." No one laughed. Energy readings from the Queen's chamber scrolled across a shared display. Patterns rose and fell in unfamiliar ways. "Those readings are impossible," said a crystalline being, its voice chiming. "Psychic resonance without dominance." "That should not exist," another replied. Yet it did. Back in the chamber, Aaron rubbed his palms against his legs. "So what happens now?" The Queen considered him. "Now," she said, "others will attempt what I did, less gently." As if summoned by her words, a sharp tone echoed through the room. The glass surface flared bright red for a brief moment. The Queen's expression hardened. "They are already trying," she said. Aaron felt it then. A sudden cold touch at the edge of his thoughts, like fingers scraping against glass. It was not her. This presence was rough, impatient. Pain bloomed behind his eyes. He gasped, gripping the sides of the chair. "What is that?" "An envoy," the Queen said, her voice controlled but tight. "Testing." The pressure increased, probing, pushing. Instinct took over. Aaron did not know how to fight a psychic attack. He did not even fully understand what one was. But his mind did what it always did under stress. It scattered. Thoughts jumped, memories overlapped, emotions surged without order. Fear mixed with anger, with stubborn refusal, with the simple human thought of no. The cold pressure slipped. There was a sharp recoil, like something had touched a hot surface. The presence vanished. Aaron slumped forward, breathing hard. Sweat dampened his uniform. The Queen stared at him, something like shock flickering across her composed face. "You did not yield," she said quietly. "You did not shield." "I didn't do anything," he panted. "You resisted without structure," she said. "Without training, without awareness." She turned toward the wall, her voice suddenly sharp. "Enough!" The room hummed. The unseen watchers withdrew. Silence returned, heavy and charged. Far across the station, instruments spiked, then stabilized. Delegates fell quiet as data confirmed what many feared. The human mind could not be entered by force. Aaron wiped his face with his sleeve. "Am I going to have to do that again?" "Yes," the Queen said simply. That answer made his stomach drop. She faced him again. "And others will try harder." "That's great," he muttered. Her eyes softened slightly. "You are not alone." She gestured, and the door opened again. 2 Velari aides entered, carrying small devices that hummed with restrained energy. "These will monitor," she said, "not control." Aaron eyed them warily but nodded. As the aides worked, the Queen spoke again, quieter now. "Do humans fear the loss of self?" "Yes," Aaron said without hesitation. "Probably more than death." Her gaze lingered on him. "Then you will be feared." The words settled heavily between them. Elsewhere, Director Chen received a secure message. It was brief, direct. "Human cognitive structures show natural resistance to psychic override. One confirmed case, possibly universal." She read it twice. Then she closed her eyes. "This changes everything," she whispered. Back in the chamber, the Queen dismissed her aides. When they were alone again, she looked tired. "We built our empire on connection," she said. On unity, on shared thought. She met his eyes. What does your species build on? Aaron thought of Earth. Of countless cultures, arguments, wars, and ideas crashing together. Of people who could barely agree on lunch, let alone destiny. Choice, he said finally, even when it's messy. The Queen considered this. Messy, she repeated, as if tasting the word. A faint smile touched her lips. The station trembled again, stronger this time. Alarms began to sound in distant corridors. What now? Aaron asked, dread creeping back in. Now, she said, those who rely on control will panic. As if on cue, the cold pressure returned, stronger than before. Not focused on Aaron alone, but spreading outward like a net. He felt it brush past him, searching, through the walls, through the station. People screamed. Aaron stood up without thinking. They're attacking the station. Yes, the Queen said, a demonstration. She closed her eyes, reaching outward to defend, but her movements slowed, sweat beaded at her temples. They are many, she said, and they believe humans are irrelevant. Aaron's chest tightened. He could feel it now, the pressure sliding off him and crashing into others. Humans, he could sense panic nearby, confusion, pain. I can't just stand here, he said. The Queen opened her eyes, sharp and focused. You do not know what you are. Then tell me, he said. She stepped closer, placing one hand lightly over his chest. He felt her presence again, but now it was steady, anchoring. You are not a weapon, she said. You are a wall. The pressure surged again, slamming into his mind and sliding away, broken. Aaron closed his eyes. He thought of voices, of noise, of stubborn human chaos, and he let it be loud. The psychic net shattered. Across the station, people collapsed in relief. Alarms quieted. Attackers withdrew, stunned by resistance they could not understand. The Queen slowly lowered her hand. Her expression was no longer curious. It was resolved. The galaxy will come for you, she said, for all of you. Aaron opened his eyes, heart pounding. Then, he said, voice steady despite the fear, we're going to have to be ready. She studied him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she bowed her head. And somewhere deep within the station, humanity took its first unintentional step from observer to force, and the stars began to watch more closely than ever before. Aaron Hale had never been so aware of his own heartbeat. Even after hours in the Queen's chamber, after surviving the psychic probe, and after proving to herself, and indirectly to the galaxy, that humans were different, the weight of what had happened pressed on him. He could still feel the echoes of her presence in his mind, like a faint hum that refused to leave. It was disorienting, but not unwelcome. Outside the chamber, the station had transformed. Diplomats and delegates from dozens of species hurried through corridors, trying to interpret the readings that now confirmed the impossible. The humans had become a subject of debate, fascination, and fear in equal measure. Aaron had gone from an ordinary logistics officer to the center of attention of a galaxy he barely understood. He followed the Queen through the long corridors, silent but for the hum of their boots against the polished metal floor. She moved like liquid shadow, graceful and careful, her eyes scanning for threats, and yet she remained aware of him as if she measured his every step with curiosity. You understand, she said without looking at him, that you cannot return to your normal life, not yet. Aaron nodded, trying to absorb the meaning of her words. I understand. I don't know what I can do. She stopped in front of a large viewport that looked out onto the glittering expanse of the Calyx system. Ships floated silently against the stars, moving in patterns that suggested both order and elegance. The Queen's reflection shimmered in the glass. What you can do, she said softly, is the first thing humans have always done when faced with the impossible. You survive. You adapt, you endure, Aaron exhaled slowly. It sounded like a small victory, but the tension in his chest did not ease. He had survived, yes, but this survival was only the beginning. The galaxy had already taken notice, and he could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on him. We must prepare, the Queen said, finally turning to face him. Her eyes were steady, unreadable, but the faintest trace of emotion lingered there, respect, perhaps, or wonder. Others will come, not all will be curious, some will be hostile. You have seen what they can do when they expect obedience. You have resisted. That is extraordinary, Aaron Hale, and it will not go unnoticed. Aaron swallowed. So they'll attack again? Some will, she said. Some will attempt diplomacy, but the rest, they will test humans. They will try to bend you, to dominate your minds, and they will fail. He stared at her. And what then? She gestured toward the viewport, where a cluster of ships had begun to maneuver with silent precision. Then humanity will show them something they cannot control. Not with power, not with force, not with strategy. Something uniquely human. Something they do not understand. The words struck him in a way that made his chest tighten. He wanted to ask what that meant exactly, but the queen did not wait for him to speak. Instead, she led him into a secure chamber filled with displays, screens, and holograms floating in the air. It was a command center designed for monitoring everything from diplomatic communications to threats across the system. Here, she said, you will learn, you will observe, and when the time comes, you will act. Aaron's eyes darted across the displays. Readings from ships, energy fluctuations, communications from species he had only read about in textbooks, all streamed across the room. He felt overwhelmed, but the Queen's presence steadied him, a silent anchor in the chaos. Your mind, she said, is not a weapon, it is a wall. You have proven that humans cannot be controlled the way others can, but understanding is necessary, observation is necessary, you must see what comes before it comes. Aaron nodded. Then we watch and wait. Yes, she said, and learn. Hours passed, though time felt distorted. The Queen moved among the displays with the ease of someone who had done this for centuries, her fingers tracing lines of data with a precision that Aaron could not hope to match. He tried to keep up, asking questions when he could, but most of what he saw was foreign to him. Ships appeared and disappeared in simulations, energy readings fluctuated wildly, and messages from distant species arrived at speeds he could barely comprehend. And yet, even as he struggled to understand, he noticed patterns. Humans had a way of thinking that was chaotic to others, unpredictable in ways that could not be simulated. Decisions were made instinctively, emotionally, creatively. Mistakes were frequent, yes, but they were never the same twice. The Queen observed him as he stared at a holographic projection of a fleet. You notice, she said, how your species' chaos cannot be anticipated. Aaron nodded slowly. It's hard to predict, but it's consistent. Inconsistently consistent, maybe. Her lips curved slightly, the faintest trace of a smile. Yes, that is what they do not understand. That is your advantage, not strength, not fleet size, not psychic power. You are a variable they cannot control. He considered that, a variable. A living, breathing anomaly in a galaxy built on control and order. It made him shiver, not from fear, but from the weight of potential. A sudden alert sounded across the displays. Aaron turned sharply. A ship from a previously neutral system had entered the outer perimeter of Calyx. Its energy readings spiked, indicating a psychic probe, an attempt to assess and dominate. They are testing again, the Queen said. Her voice was calm, but there was a hardness beneath it now. Observe closely. Aaron watched, holding his breath as the probe approached. The energy field pressed against the station, probing, searching. Other species would have surrendered to it instantly, their minds opening like doors. He could feel it, an attempt at intrusion, cold and invasive, reaching for control. Aaron did the only thing he could. He focused on the sensation, on the pressure in his mind, and let it flow back, not as aggression but as resistance, as chaos, as human instinct. The probe faltered, its energy splintered, breaking against the unyielding wall of thought that Aaron represented. The Queen's eyes widened slightly. He felt a sense of pride that was strange and unexpected. They are learning, she said. Slowly they will understand. Humans cannot be controlled. Humans must be met, not commanded. Aaron exhaled, letting the tension leave his body. So we're going to survive this? Yes, she said. If you continue to do what humans do best, think, act, endure, chaos is your ally, not your enemy. The room remained silent for a moment, the hum of energy and distant stars the only sound. Aaron realized, with a mixture of awe and fear, that this was no longer about him alone. Humans had been noticed. Their uniqueness had been measured, tested, and found extraordinary. Outside, the galaxy began to shift in subtle ways. Fleets repositioned, messages raced between worlds, and ancient alliances began to reconsider the place of humans in the cosmic order. Aaron could feel it, not fully, not clearly, but a tremor of significance running through the stars. The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder. You will not be alone in this. Others will come to learn, to watch, to aid, but you will be the first. That is why you are here. He looked at her, the enormity of the statement pressing on him. The first of what? The first to show them, she said, her gaze steady and unwavering, that humanity cannot be tamed, that you are not a species to be dominated, that your minds are your own. Aaron nodded. He did not fully understand, but he felt the truth in her words. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "Then," he said, "we do what we have to do." She inclined her head. "Yes, and when the galaxy comes for you, as it surely will, you will be ready. Not with force alone, but with what makes you human." He swallowed, trying to imagine the future she spoke of. The attacks, the tests, the scrutiny, the fear, but also the opportunity. Humanity had a chance to prove itself, not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as equals in a galaxy that had never faced their kind before. Aaron realized then that he was no longer just a logistics officer. He was a representative of something greater, of a species that had survived countless challenges on its own world, and now faced the infinite expanse of the stars. The Queen turned toward the viewport once more, her eyes reflecting the glittering ships of Calyx's system. "You will see them coming," she said, "and when they do, you will remember this moment, this first step, the first time humans stood as themselves, unbound, unbroken, and undeniable." Aaron looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of possibility pressing down on him. He knew the galaxy would test humanity in ways they could not yet imagine. He knew there would be danger, fear, and uncertainty. But he also knew one thing with absolute clarity: humans could endure, and in enduring they could change everything. He turned to face the Queen. "Then we begin," he said, determination sharpening his voice. The Queen nodded. "Yes, and in doing so you will remind the universe that humans are different. That is your strength. That is your gift. That is what they will never understand until it is too late." Aaron took a deep breath, letting the weight of her words settle in. Chaos, unpredictability, and the unyielding human spirit, these were the tools he had, and they were more powerful than any fleet, any psychic probe, or any empire that sought to dominate him. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the station, he felt the first pulse of something extraordinary, a ripple that would carry humanity into the unknown, unafraid, unbroken, and ready. The stars waited, and so did he. The station hummed with quiet energy, the kind that came from awareness, anticipation, and a universe suddenly alert. Aaron Hale stood at the viewport, his eyes tracing the movement of distant fleets. He had learned much in the days since the first contact with the Veleri Queen, more than he ever thought possible in a lifetime. But knowledge alone was not enough. He had to act, and soon. Outside, the galaxy was already reacting. Fleets that had once ignored humanity were repositioning, cautious now. Sensors lit up with readings of humans resisting psychic probes, of fleets moving unpredictably, of diplomats reconsidering long-held assumptions. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, assuming quiet minds meant simplicity. Aaron knew better now. Chaos, choice, and endurance were a species' greatest weapons, and humans wielded them naturally. The Queen appeared at his side. "They will come," she said. Her voice was calm but carried weight. "They will not accept this. Some will attempt diplomacy, others will attack, but no mind can dominate yours. That is the first truth you must hold." Aaron nodded. "And what do we do when they attack?" She turned to him fully, her eyes dark and commanding. "We show them what humans are, not with aggression but with endurance, with unpredictability, with the fact that your spirit cannot be contained or commanded." Aaron thought of Earth, of its wars, its disasters, its victories, its people who had survived famine, plague, and conflict, who had rebuilt and endured. Humans were fragile and stubborn at the same time, but their resilience was unmatched. "They will test us," he said. "I feel it coming." "Yes," the Queen said, "and they will learn. They always do, but often too late." The first attempt came within hours. A vessel from the Arindian sector approached the station. Its psychic signals were immense, invasive, designed to dominate entire species in a single touch. The humans in the station froze, but Aaron stepped forward. He felt the pressure before anyone else, cold and insistent, reaching for control. He remembered the Queen's words. Chaos, unpredictability, endurance. He allowed himself to feel fear, but he did not surrender. Thoughts ran through his mind, memories, fragments of conversations, emotions, and he sent them back into the invading wave like a mirror. The probe faltered, recoiling. Alarms echoed across the station as the vessel struggled to maintain its assault. "Stand firm," the Queen said beside him. "Do not yield, do not mimic, simply be." Aaron focused on that. Simply being, simply existing was enough to resist. Every human mind in the station felt the same. Panic and fear rose, but they were chaotic, unstructured, unpredictable. And against that, the probe could not calculate. It shattered. Outside, the attacking vessel pulsed, then retreated. Other species watched in astonishment. Humans had not fought, humans had endured, and that endurance was not weakness, it was strength beyond understanding. Aaron turned from the viewport, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was no longer about him. It was about humanity as a whole, about showing the galaxy that humans could not be dominated or dismissed. The Queen moved closer. "They will not stop," she said. "Some will come with fleets, others with spies, others with diplomacy, offering rewards for submission. You must remember, humans cannot be controlled. You must be careful, but you must be visible." "What if they attack again?" Aaron asked, his voice steady despite the tension. "Then you endure," she said simply, "and they learn again, humans are not simple. You are not predictable, that is your advantage." Aaron took a deep breath. He looked at the displays showing ships moving across the system. He imagined the countless worlds watching, the fleets preparing, the minds calculating and planning, all expecting obedience. He smiled faintly. Humans were not obedient. Humans were unpredictable, chaotic, and relentless in ways the galaxy had never anticipated. Hours passed, then days. Aaron learned to anticipate threats, to observe, to remain calm under psychic pressure. The Queen guided him, teaching without speaking too directly, letting him discover the limits of his endurance. Other humans in the station followed his example, growing stronger with every attempt to dominate or intimidate them. A week passed. Then a fleet arrived, massive, imposing, with ships bristling with psychic amplifiers. The station trembled under their approach. Diplomatic envoys arrived in separate crafts, attempting to communicate with calm, persuasive voices. The galaxy expected fear. It expected surrender. Aaron stood on the bridge, his hand resting lightly on a console as the Queen's presence steadied him. "Remember," she said, "you do not fight them with strength. You resist with what makes you human." The fleet began its psychic assault. Energy waves rippled through the station, seeking to dominate the minds within. Aaron felt it pressing against him, cold and intrusive, reaching for his thoughts. He could sense the panic spreading through the station, but he focused. He let every thought, every memory, every human instinct flow freely and unpredictably. The wave fractured, it bent, it recoiled, the humans held. Outside, the attackers faltered, unable to anticipate the unpredictable responses. The Queen's eyes gleamed. "They are learning too late," she said. Aaron felt a surge of confidence. They would continue to come, but humans could endure. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or technology alone. It was in the mind, in the spirit, in the chaos and individuality that could not be predicted or conquered. Days turned into weeks. The attacks continued in cycles, alternating between fleets and psychic probes. Diplomats tried to negotiate, offering resources and treaties in exchange for submission. Aaron observed, guided, and endured. Humanity's resistance became known across the galaxy. Fleets hesitated before approaching human-controlled space. Diplomats treated humans with newfound respect, understanding that submission was impossible. The Queen stood beside Aaron as he watched another fleet retreat. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown them that humans are unbound. That they cannot be commanded. That is a truth no empire can ignore." Aaron nodded. "And yet this is only the beginning." "Yes," she agreed. "But beginnings matter. This is the first step, the first demonstration. They will learn slowly that humans are not to be underestimated. And when that understanding spreads, you will not be alone." He felt a swell of hope. The galaxy was vast and danger would continue to come, but humans were no longer silent, no longer dismissed. They had endured, resisted, and survived in ways that no one had expected. The Queen looked at him with a rare softness in her eyes. "Do not underestimate yourselves, Aaron Hale. You are not just an individual, you are a symbol, a representation of what your species can be. That is your role now." Aaron met her gaze, understanding the responsibility fully. It was daunting, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. He had been an ordinary logistics officer, and now he was at the center of a transformation that could change the course of the galaxy. "We will be ready," he said firmly. "Humans will endure, and when the galaxy comes, they will learn what it means to face us." The Queen inclined her head. "Yes, and they will remember humanity has awakened, and once awakened, it cannot be controlled." Aaron turned back to the viewport, watching the stars. He thought of Earth, of its people, of its endless capacity to endure and adapt. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Now it would learn, slowly, inevitably, and at great surprise. He felt the pulse of possibility in the station, the quiet strength of humans ready to face the unknown. He was not alone. Humanity was not alone, and the galaxy had changed forever. The stars stretched endlessly before him, bright and cold, yet full of opportunity. Aaron Hale knew that the journey was just beginning, but he was ready. Humanity was ready. The Queen had shown him that endurance, unpredictability, and the human spirit were more powerful than any force the galaxy could muster. And as he stood there watching the stars, he understood something profound. Humans would not simply survive. They would endure, adapt, and change the universe in ways that no one at all, had ever imagined. The galaxy had taken notice. Humanity had awakened. And the stars waited. Aaron took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling steadily. He could feel the presence of the Queen beside him, calm, powerful, and patient. Together they watched the fleets move, the galaxy shift, and the first true demonstration of human endurance unfold. The future was uncertain. The challenges were immense. But humanity had one advantage that no empire, no fleet, no psychic probe could overcome. Their spirit, unbound and unbroken, was alive and unstoppable. Aaron Hale smiled faintly. They had survived, they had endured, and the galaxy would never forget. The stars shone brightly, silent witnesses to the awakening of a species that would forever change the balance of power among the stars. Humans were here. Humans had endured, and nothing would ever be the same.